After annexing Crimea back in 2014, as well as the ongoing war in eastern Ukraine, the past few weeks have seen Russia up the ante in their ongoing conflict with the ex-Soviet state. They have amassed troops all along the border with Ukraine amid fears of a full-scale invasion. Today, we're discussing what a Russian invasion of Ukraine might mean for global trade and commodity prices worldwide, so stay right where you are. First up, we're looking at the history of the conflict. Stay tuned. So as we know, Russia and Ukraine have been in a state of war since Putin annexed Crimea back in 2014. The move came as Putin claimed Russia aimed to protect the rights of ethnic Russians in the region from far-right extremists. Crimea became an official part of Ukraine after the collapse of the Soviet Union back in 1991, but a lot of people in the region still identified as Russian, which Putin used as an excuse to annex the region because, Russia doesn't have enough territory. Since the invasion, Ukraine has lobbied to join NATO as part of an effort to secure its borders in case of any future aggression at the hands of its northern neighbor. Smart move. Russia strongly opposes this move, and in 2020, Ukraine joined NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partner Program, which was seen as its first step towards full membership of NATO by Russia. Ukraine Premier Volodymyr Zelensky has warned of the importance for Ukraine to be a part of NATO as part of its long-term security and defense plans. And we don't blame him. Russia has long been an aggressive presence in the region, and shoring up its borders must be priority one for Zelensky. Russia views Ukraine's ally with NATO as an act of aggression and has demanded the former Soviet state not be allowed to join. Ukraine's allies, including the UK and USA, have refused to bow to these demands, saying Ukraine has the right to choose its own allies. What do you make of the conflict? Next up, we're talking about what a full-scale invasion could mean for the rest of the world. Stay with us. The unpredictable nature of Russia's presence on Ukraine's borders could have unforeseen consequences, not just on civilians in the Ukraine, but on equities and commodity prices around the world. Russia has long since ignored the views of, any other country, and generally tends to play by its own rules, dating back as far as the overthrow of the last Tsar, Nicholas, back in 1918. Should Russia ignore more warnings not to invade and to scale back its aggressions toward Ukraine, then the US, amongst other countries, could move to hit the biggest country on Earth with sanctions, which could have far-reaching repercussions around the globe, as Russia holds a lot of key commodities, meaning they have a pretty strong hand. A Russian invasion could see oil prices spike, which would have a knock-on effect on European gas prices. It would also surely see the dollar strengthen, meaning US bond yields would move lower, and commodities like wheat and palladium, a metal used in the fuel cells which power cars and buses, would increase. Mark Chandler, chief market strategist at Bannockburn Global Forex, said there's another round of US-Russia talks. As long as talks are going on, it's hard to imagine Russia would go to war, before remarking that the Russian ruble had seen gains in the past few days. He finished by saying that the market doesn't have to worry just yet, but if talks come crashing to a halt, then maybe people should start to be concerned. What else should we know? Russia has been described as the world's supermarket by commentators in the know. They control so much territory that they have a wealth of resources at their disposal and could easily cause a market shortage of any number of commodities should they feel threatened or provoked. We don't currently know what's in the mind of Putin, but should he invade, and some people have put the chance of invasion at around 50%, then that would send the price of oil north of $100 a barrel, which could have dire consequences for smaller nations around the world. Helima Croft, head of global commodities at RBC, said that if that actually happens, we won't just feel it on the gas market, but also on a variety of other markets that Russia has a large say in. Russia is the world's biggest exporter of wheat, accounting for almost 30% of the global supply. So if they switched off access to that, then that could have far-reaching consequences. Croft went on to say, they're not just a gas station, they're a commodity superstore. They're a massive metal producer. Where we think it gets painful is food and energy prices. Any sanctions on Russia would surely affect the rest of the world, as inflation would more than likely go through the roof. But it all depends on the severity of the sanctions and what exactly the West and its allies target with the sanctions. What do you make of Russia's influence on global trade? Let us know below. What has Russia's opposition said then? Let's see. At the minute, the UK and US are the leading voices in opposition of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, and although Biden and Johnson are still hoping for a diplomatic resolution to the conflict, they have warned Putin in no uncertain terms that any aggression towards the Eastern European nation will not be tolerated. The two Western leaders discussed the issue earlier this week in a 40-minute phone call, and although they agreed a deal was still possible, Western powers, including Germany, have said that there's no reasonable justification for the buildup of military personnel and equipment along Ukraine's borders. Late last week, British citizens were urged to leave Ukraine, and that sentiment has been echoed throughout this week by numerous other countries who are worried about the situation escalating. Biden and Johnson warned of a crucial window coming up in talks, and Johnson also said that should any further incursion into Ukrainian territory occur, then it would mean a protracted crisis for Russia. Johnson also repeatedly warned Russia that they will do everything in their power to help Ukraine should Russia Russian troops advance across the border, and Biden responded by saying, "We're not going anywhere without you, pal." In a statement which will probably only serve to escalate the beef, Ukrainian President Zelensky said, "We have something to respond with. We have a great army. This is an army many times stronger than 8 years ago. It's not looking good in Ukraine right now, and all we can do is hope for a peaceful resolution." What's the latest news on the ground? Stay tuned to find out. The situation still isn't looking any better today, February 19th, and the U.S. continues to warn that an invasion could take place any day. Biden himself even warned reporters that the threat of rising tensions is now very high, but Russia is still playing it cool, claiming they have no intention of staging an invasion. Yeah, right. This morning, there were reports that Vladimir Putin himself had overseen a military drill, which saw a ton of Russia's most advanced weapons tested out, including hypersonic weapons and an intercontinental ballistic missile. Still believe he isn't planning to invade? Yeah, us neither. Russian media, which is controlled by the state, obviously, showed Putin in full Bond villain mode, watching over the missile launches from his control center in Moscow. Also present, intriguingly, was Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, who has also been accused by the West of aiding Russian aggression towards Ukraine by allowing Putin's forces to conduct military exercises within his border. Included in the drill was a test of 2 hypersonic missiles, one from a fighter jet and another anti-ship missile fired from a warship. There were several other launches, and this only serves to add fuel to the fire that Russia is planning to invade. We would be very nervous if we were currently sitting in the Ukrainian parliament in Kiev, as Putin has repeatedly warned that his missiles are the most advanced in the world. Are you or someone you know currently in Ukraine? Let us know the feeling on the ground if so. And finally, news from China. Some analysts have suggested that while the West is focused on the situation in Ukraine, China is planning something provocative. General Kenneth Wilsbach, the head of U.S. Pacific Air Forces, claimed that with heads turned, the Chinese will almost certainly look to use the situation to its own advantage. He said, "From the standpoint of will China see what's happening in Europe and try to do something here in the Indo-Pacific, absolutely yes, that's a concern. I do have my concerns that they would want to take advantage. It won't be surprising if they tried something that may be provocative and see how the international community reacts. China has long been accused of strong-arm tactics with its own land grabs in Taiwan and also disputed areas of the South China Sea with the Philippines, amongst others. I mean, are these countries not big enough? Russia and China both have an immense amount of land with untold riches, but that seemingly is not enough. Come on, guys, can't we all just get along?" As always, thanks for tuning in today, and remember to stop by next time for some more fun reveals. Also, don't forget to like and share our video today, as well as subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. Bye, guys.